Hey everyone, it's Ben. Hope everyone's doing well and everyone is having a good week. Decided to come today to do a new video. Was kind of having a crappy day, so I felt like, this would kind of take my mind off of some shit that's pissing me off right now. But as I had said in an earlier video that I'm kind of between jobs right now, which I've never had to deal with before in my life, so it's kind of frustrating. And then I had two opportunities that kind of just fell through today, and shit, it is what it is. And I have some other things that are working their way good, and I'm pretty confident that something's going to work out in the next couple weeks. So fingers crossed, and all my fans just keep me in their thoughts and good vibes coming through because I'm going stir crazy a little bit. I'm someone that likes to work. But anyway, today I wanted to come and I wanted to do a video that I had wanted to do earlier, but I ended up doing the San Francisco Noir films last week. I hope people enjoyed them. I really enjoyed doing them. If people haven't seen them, please feel free to watch them. I invite everybody to check them out. If you guys didn't enjoy them, they are what they are. I was happy to do them, and they're out there now. So what I want to talk about today is it's a movie that's been done twice by two very different filmmakers based on a Stephen King story, and the movie is The Shining. Now, obviously, you have the 1980 film starring the great Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, and Scatman Crothers, directed by Stanley Kubrick. And then you have the Mick Garris TV miniseries from 1997 that starred Steven Weber, Melvin Van Peebles, and Rebecca De Mornay. Now, these are two very different films. They focus on the novel by Stephen King. One is very faithful to the book and the other one isn't. And I'm going to talk about my thoughts on both films. And I have read the book, so stay tuned for my thoughts on these films. And please feel free to let me know your thoughts on the films in the comment section below. Thanks a lot and stay tuned. Okay, The Shining. Before I get into the movies, obviously you have to talk about the novel, which was written by the great Stephen King, my favorite author. The book came out, it was released by Doubleday in 1977, and the story is about a alcoholic father and his family going to the Overlook Hotel where he has been given the assignment of caretaker for the winter. So he will be snowed in with his family, and he will be keeping an eye on the Overlook Hotel while also trying to write a novel. And he has a son named Danny who has this sort of second sight known as The Shining, where he can see into the future. What ensues is Jack's demons getting the best of him, and the hotel making him, sort of bringing out the evil in him and him going after his family and trying to kill them. The book is very good. I read it about 14 years ago, and I read it right before the miniseries was released because I wanted to read the book before I saw the miniseries because I knew it was going to differ greatly. It differed greatly from Kubrick's film. And, but before we get into the miniseries, obviously we have to talk about the Stanley Kubrick 1980 masterpiece. Now, when people think of The Shining, they obviously think of the Jack Nicholson film, directed by Stanley Kubrick, that was released in 1980. What a lot of people may not realize that haven't read the book is how very different this film is from the source material that King wrote. Now, Stephen King did write a screenplay when the book was sold for the film rights in the late 70s, and Stanley Kubrick was interested in working with King on the movie. The problem for one of the things that I've read is that King very much objected to Jack Nicholson being cast as Jack Torrance. And I think the reason why is that Jack Nicholson looks crazy in frame one of Kubrick's film. It's just, and that's just the way Jack Nicholson, the way he acts. And I think if you read the King novel, you'll see that Jack's descent into madness is very slow. He is a good man. He just has demons. He's an alcoholic. He's trying to battle them. He's trying to be a good father. He's trying to be a good husband. And the hotel acts like a kind of catalyst that sort of slowly drives him insane and drives him back to drinking. And right at the beginning of Kubrick's film, you can tell that Jack Nicholson hates his family, hates his son, hates his wife, and there's already something evil brewing before they even get to the Overlook Hotel. So based on a source material that I have, which is a great book, Creepshow's Illustrated Stephen King Movie Guide by Stephen Jones, it talks about, you know, every film, including The Shining. One thing it does talk about is that after declining to work with King's own screenplay, because he didn't want to be influenced by someone else's view of the book, not even the author's, Kubrick co-scripted his version with serious American novelist Diane Johnson, who was then teaching a course on the Gothic novel at the University of California in Berkeley. Now, together, Kubrick and Johnson attempted to craft a script that would avoid any comparisons with the then current glut of supernatural films flooding the box office. Kubrick had his own ideas about life and death, too. He really didn't believe in the afterlife, so that greatly influenced his decisions as well. What he wanted to do was to extract the essential plot and reinvent the sections of the story that were weak. The director believed that the virtues of the book lay almost entirely in the plot, and the two collaborators, him and Johnson, made a list of the scenes they thought should be included, which they then shuffled around until Kubrick approved of the order. One of the most significant changes in the Kubrick film is the room 217. In the Kubrick film is 237. And this was apparently a request of the hotel where the exteriors were filmed for the movie. They also deleted a wasp attack that took place in the movie, or in the book. And they replacing a scene in the book where the hotel's topiary structures come to life. They instead used the infamous hedge maze. No, I love The Shining by Stanley Kubrick. It's one of those films that sort of gets under your skin and doesn't leave. It's I still think it's one of the scariest movies ever made, but it's a weird film. I mean, it's not a mainstream Hollywood film. It's a very artsy film. It's got a lot of avant-garde scenes in it. Like the scenes with the hotel, the blood coming through the elevator doors, and the twins in the hallway, and the way that Kubrick used the Steadicam to follow Danny on his big wheel. I mean, there's some just really amazing shots that are still iconic to this day. But yes, it does delve greatly from King's book. But I almost in a weird way think it plays to the film's advantage. I don't think it was fair that Kubrick cut King out of the decision-making process and didn't use his screenplay. I mean, he's the author, for God's sakes. But Kubrick always had a way of making films his own, and I can see, just based on his track record with Clockwork Orange not using the last chapter of the book, that's just the way he was. And what he made was a film that, like, it really just gets to you, and I think it's just the imagery that he uses. The woman in 237, I mean, that scene is still terrifying. The music in the film, I mean, I think it's still one of the scariest scores ever made. And, there's just no comparison to, and it was done by Wendy Carlos and Rachel Elkind. I mean, just a terrifying score that I think even without the movie playing is just terrifying in itself. And there's some great visuals. The drive that Jack is on at the beginning, when the opening credits, where he's driving to the Overlook, and the exterior shot of the Overlook, which is actually Mount Hood, the Timberland Lodge in Mount Hood, Oregon. And it was the only shot that was. They did some exterior filmmaking, but most of the shots were created at the sets were created at LCD Studios in London. But Shelley Duvall is great in the film too. I mean, she really plays a very embittered woman in Wendy Torrance, and it's very different from the novel. She's a very strong-willed woman in the book, and she's just beaten down in the Kubrick film. And I think it had to do with Kubrick's directing style. I mean, he would do shot after shot after shot that these actors, you feel like you've been on a roller coaster ride with them. They look exhausted because they were exhausted, and I think that's why it works so well. Jack Nicholson's an amazing actor. He does a terrific job at being creepy in this film, just not even by saying anything, just by looking a certain way. Like, there's one shot where it's just a close-up of his face after he's axed Dick Halloran in the chest. I still think it's one of the creepiest scenes. And who can say enough about the Danny Lloyd, who plays little Danny Torrance? I mean, and I think it could be, there wasn't anything particularly brilliant about the way that he performed in the film, but it was like the subtleties of his performance, and that could have been because of Kubrick's influence. He just does an amazing job in this. Just an amazing little boy that is put into this, crazy situation where he can see things, and he has this the way that he does the talking to his finger. Tony, Danny's not here, Mrs. Torrance. I mean, that's just creepy. And then Red Rum. I mean, there's so many things in this film that just stay with you that are timeless. And it's just a creepy film. But it's so different from King's book because, like I said, in the book, it's a slow build to madness. Whereas it's almost like Jack in the Kubrick film entering the hotel, it was just like striking a match. He's insane right from frame one. You can just tell, and it's just he gets more and more insane instead of slowly building to insanity. And I think that was what a lot of audiences that were fans of the book and King himself had problems with in regards to the movie. But I still think it's a brilliant piece of work. It's my favorite Kubrick film. And like I said, great performances in it. Scatman Crothers' Dick Halloran is amazing in it. Really great performances all around. And the atmosphere and the setting, it just, you feel like you're isolated with them. And I think that was the strength of the way Kubrick directed the film.